My name is Mohammed Hassan. I'm here to present our work on exploring malicious link posting in online social network application. This is collaboration with Mahnoor, Jameel, and my advisor, Professor Masooda Bashir from University of Illinois at Urbana, Champaign. So online social networks have been gaining popularity. They are used by people to connect with their peers, their families, colleagues. They share different kind of content. They exchange messages, post live updates. So there's this sense of trust in the offline world that gets transferred into the online world due to these features. And the attackers, they try to target this popularity of online social networks and this sense of trust. And they usually use link-based attacks using malicious links, and they impersonate financial entities, employers, business entities, etc. And or what they're targeting for is personally identifiable information, their account credentials, or other relevant business information. These malicious links include malwares, virus, spam, scam, etc. And in order to deter these malicious links online, there are block listing services. Popular block listing services include Google Safe Browsing, PhishTank, and VirusRotor. These services actually maintain list of known malicious and suspicious URLs, and they provide reports on these URLs as well. Their identification method involves monitoring user reports, so user can actually report malicious links to these services as well. They also check regularly using web scans. They look for URL structures, such as if there's a typo spot or something, and they also check history of domain as well. And OSNs, they do integration of these URL block listing services to protect users online and reduce the cyber crime. Our research, we had a couple of research questions here that we're trying to focus. The first one is there a check put in place against link-based attacks, malicious URLs online? Secondly, if there are checks put in place, what are the low-effort techniques which can be employed to evade the security checks put in place? So we selected top 5 applications from the social category of Google Play Store. Then we test accounts on these using pseudo demographic information. And in order to anonymize, we use Proton, which does not need smartphone verification. And for ethical consideration, we limited our visibility to the test accounts only. So when we were posting malicious links, they were only visible to the test accounts. But further, once we are done with the experimentation, we not only deleted the post, but also deleted the test accounts as well to limit their visibility. We collected 35 malicious URLs over a 3-month period, sampling 5 URLs every 2 weeks from the PhishTank database. So PhishTank database of malicious URL was our source database, and the original the URL sourced from PhishTank will be termed as original malicious URL. And then, in order to answer our second research question, we also created redirectional versions of original malicious links if they were originally blocked, which will be either called redirectional link or transformed link. And for this, we use tiny URL service. This is a very low effort technique, but that's what we are trying to test for here. So in order to test the original malicious URL, we saw that Twitter and Facebook were the only ones which blocked the original malicious URLs, which we directly sourced from PhishTank. We saw that Twitter did most of the heavy work here, which blocked 30 out of the original 35 URLs, and we were only able to post 5 URLs successfully. For Facebook, it only blocked 3 malicious URLs, and 32 URLs were posted successfully. Now we'll try to answer our second research question. We only focused on those links which are originally blocked. That is 30 for Twitter and 3 for Facebook. So we observed that we created the transformed version or redirectional URLs using tiny URL surveys. We saw that we were able to avoid the detection for Twitter. We were again able to post 16 of those 30 URLs. 14 were blocked. And for Facebook, allowed us to post 2 of those 3 URLs, and it still blocked 1 redirectional URL. So coming back to our results, for research question word, we observed that only Twitter and Facebook blocked the original malicious URL. But an interesting observation that we made was Instagram, Mastodon, and Facebook gave warning for some URLs. So it observed that there are some URLs which are suspicious. They have been reported to be scam, phishing, etc. But despite those warnings, they did not remove those URLs. And we also checked that we were able to bypass the security against malicious URLs simply by using redirectional URLs. This is a very low effort technique. Attackers can perhaps use for other highly sophisticated or complex methodologies to even avoid further. So overall, only approximately 24% of the total malicious links were blocked. Twitter did most of the heavy work here. So it blocked approximately 70% of the malicious link that we tried to post on Twitter, including both original and their redirectional version. So some of the limitation include the number of application and the experiment duration. We only focused on 5 application. Our duration was of 3 months, so that gives us a limited visibility into the ecosystem. For future work, the experiment can be scaled up, perhaps using some form of automation. And in order to increase the visibility, what we can do is we can go back and periodically check the previously posted links as well. So the assumption here is maybe the online social networks, they take some more time to detect the links that have been posted there. But generally, that is something which can be a future work for this study. And also, we can perhaps check for the usability of this experiment on marginalized or vulnerable population as well. To conclude, we observed an alarming state of malicious URL sharing in online social network, and the URL block listing had an opaque role here. So there was an observable lack of usable security. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions.
So as you say in the result, the results are quite dire. Like none of these basically check for this. So what do you propose as a way forward?
So that's the exact observation we had. So these are malicious links, and most of the time, most of the social media are just getting them post directly. Some of the solutions perhaps, so there is solution, but there has been a lot of research that has been done on the solution, but we wanted to actually go and measure what exists on the internet. For the solution, there are various techniques. Some use these URL block listing services. So one reason we gave two-week gap between each selection was to give each social network an appropriate time to update their backend infrastructure with these malicious URLs. So they can either incorporate URL block listing services, which some of them do, but it seems are not very effective. The other way is to check for different lexical infrastructure of URL to see if it is a type of spot, if the domain had a bad history of being reported. So these are some of the solutions that exist. It's yet to be seen if these online social networks are effectively incorporating it. It seems they are. But that's not really perhaps the scope of this study, but that's another scope. Thank you.
Hi, wonderful work. I was curious whether there was any qualitative difference between the URLs that were blocked by, say, Twitter and those that were let through. Just off the top of my head, I was wondering whether the ones that were let through might have been scammy or suspicious versus maybe the ones that were blocked would potentially be obviously malicious or obviously phishing. So I'm just curious if you noticed any sort of differences between the two.
That's an interesting question as well. So in our paper, we also mentioned that while we source our URLs from phishing, we further verified them to be malicious from Google Safe Browsing as well. So Google Safe Browsing, it is a vast database as well. So we sourced them from a random sample, and then we went to the Google Safe Browsing to make sure the sample was actually malicious. And I think approximately all of the URLs which we sampled from phishing, they were to Google Safe Browsing verified that these are malicious URLs.
So this is beyond the scope of your work, so it's quite reasonable to say you don't know, but it is of interest. So how of the life cycle did you look at when they were registered and when the sites were subject to takedown, or if they were subject to takedown of the ones that you picked out? So it's a little outside of scope that we needed.
I think we were not really going to check those malicious links to see if they're still available there or not, but what we did was we periodically checked on the phish link if they're available there or not. So maybe they are taken down, maybe they turned non-malicious, which I'm not sure if that's normal behavior for a malicious URL. We did not check for the domain name registered, but we did check when it first appeared on the phish link. So phish link do provide a timestamp with every URL. So on when a URL appears on phish link, it says it's a malicious, and this is a timestamp when we say this was reported to be malicious. So So in addition to that, to sort of further verify, we went on to Google Safe Browsing to make sure, like, because fish tank is crowdsourced, so it's quite possible someone not like an upper user gave a link which is not malicious. So we went to the Google Safe Browsing. So Google Safe Browsing gives you a report from further URLs, so further different domains. So it has like 10-15 list of different block listing services incorporated in itself, and it can tell you like this is a score of 15 out of something. So we made sure like these URLs are still malicious when we were conducting this. But given the history of domains, I think that might be a bit of the tangent that we were not really. That's an interesting point.
I was literally not asking if they turned not malicious. I was asking about it.
I think that's we were not really checking if they had been